Time and time again, we talk about the elites controlling the world, from lying about her age and potential pregnancy to being in the Illuminati. Follow me down the rabbit hole about Beyonce. Hello, friends. Welcome back to the rabbit hole. I'm your host, Danny, and today we're talking about Beyonce. I know this might be a little silly. I try to mix in celebrity conspiracies with other conspiracies, so that way there's a good mix. Some people come here just to hear what conspiracy theories are. Some people are full believers. So whoever you are, welcome. And yeah, welcome. I know we have a lot of new listeners out there, so thank you for finding my podcast. I really, really appreciate it. Something that I don't do is I don't debunk the theory. I'm just here to tell you what the theory is. So if you want to debunk it, go do it on your own time. I put so much research and effort into finding just the theory itself that debunking it also just feels like it takes away from everything I already did. So I'm not debunking them. Go debunk them on your own time if you want to. Or you believe them. I don't know. I don't care what you do with it, but here we are. So, also, I'm feeling better. You can hear my voice is much better now. So I appreciate you guys going through all these weird ups and downs with me lately. I promise it's not normally like this. It's just been my life recently. So thanks, guys. Let's get into it. So early childhood, Beyonce Giselle Knowles was born on September 4th, 1981 in Houston, Texas. She was born to Tina and Matthew Knowles. Matthew will be important. So when I bring him up later, know that that's her father. And I'll say that as well, but just in case I forget, Matthew Knowles is Beyonce's dad. Beyonce was raised Catholic and attended St. Mary's Montessori School. This is where she actually first began taking dance classes. And during her dance classes is when her singing ability was discovered. So basically, her dance instructor started humming a tune and she finished the lyrics hitting the highest notes and really impressed the guy. So they're like, oh, wow, you can dance and you can sing. And so then she wanted to keep doing that. So she won her school's talent show at the age of 7. And that really pushed her forward to want to perform because she was beating out 16 and 17 year olds, 15, 16 year olds. So she at 7 was already pushing herself to be the best. And she was a member of the choir in elementary school, high school, and her church. So, and also she was a soloist in all these choirs. When Beyonce was 8, she auditioned for an all-girl entertainment group. So this is where she met Latavia Robertson and Kelly Rowland. So if you don't know who they are, they later on will be in Destiny's Child. And they were put into a group with 3 older girls, and the group was called Girls Time. After seeing the group, R&B producer Arnie, I'm going to say Frager. It could be Frager. I have no idea how to say his last name. Typical me, right? Took them to Northern California to his studio, and then he put the group into Star Search. And at the time, Star Search was the largest talent show on national TV, and let me tell you, Girls Time did not do well. And later on, Beyonce would say that the song they performed just wasn't very good. So that's why they didn't do well. But in 1995, Beyonce's father quit his job to manage the group full time. And this was really hard on the Knowles family, and they had to sell their house and their cars, and they moved into separate apartments. When I read that, I'm assuming that mom and dad had to move into separate apartments, and because there's 2 girls, Beyonce and her sister, and I'm assuming that they just went with the separate parents, but the parents were still married, but I don't know. They moved into apartments. Matthew cut the group down to 4 and from 5 down to 4 and booked the group to open for established R&B girl groups because they were a girl group. He wanted them, to kind of get recognized in that realm. And the 4 members of the group at this point were Beyonce, Kelly Rowland, LaToya Luckett, and Latavia Robertson. And the group was signed by Elektra Records and then quickly was moved to Atlanta Records before basically like being cut from the record company altogether. And this, like, them being signed and then cut from the record company created a huge strain on the family, and that caused Matthew and Tina to separate. They weren't divorcing, they were just separating. But finally, on October 5th of 1995, Dwayne Wiggins' Grassroots Entertainment signed the group. So that was like a really big deal for them. And the group started working on their debut album, and things kind of started to look up for the Knowles family because they came back together and reunited. The group got a contract with Columbia Records with the assistance of Columbia talent scout Teresa LaBarbera Whites. I assume her name is important, so I included it. In 1996, the group officially changed their name to Destiny's Child, which was based on a passage from the book of Isaiah. I'm assuming because I don't know a lot about religion, so excuse me, but I'm assuming because of their Catholic background, that's where this name came from. In 1997, the group released their debut song, Killing Time, on the soundtrack of Men in Black, which was kind of a big deal for them. Then later that year, they released their debut single, No, 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 which is still like one of their biggest hits of Destiny's Child, No, No, No. And their debut self-titled album was released in February of 1998. But in 99, they released their second album, which went multi-platinum, and that album was The Writings on the Walls. And that album actually featured some of the most famous songs that the group has ever put out. So Bills, 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 Jumpin', Jumpin', and Say My Name. They really like to use the same word over and over. But anyway, so in some of these songs I remember playing and dancing to as a kid. So during this time, like all this is happening, Beyonce is like a busy lady. For her whole life, she's so busy. She recorded a duet with Mark Nelson of Boyz II Men called After All Is Said and Done for the soundtrack of the 1999 film The Best Man. And also during this time, Luckett and Robertson had become unhappy with Matthew's management of the band and left. Basically, they were like, no, I'm done. So they were replaced by Farrah Franklin and Michelle Williams, although Franklin would only stay with the group for like 5 or 6 months. But you can see her in the video for Say My Name, so if you're curious. But because of the split up of the band and everyone kind of blaming, like the media, critics, everybody was blaming Beyonce for it, she went into quite the depression. And to top it all off, at the same time, her long-term boyfriend left her. So now her band is falling apart and her boyfriend left her, and she went into quite a depression. And it was so bad that she would like lock herself in her room for days at a time, like without eating. And this continued for several years. I mean, she worked through it, obviously, because this was 1999. And I mean, the band continued to, or the group continued to release things, and she continued to do solo things during that time. But I mean, it was really hard for her. And actually, her mom was the reason that she was like, she pulled out of this depression. So after all this, the Destiny's Child is now Beyonce, Kelly, and Michelle. So that's who, when we think of Beyonce or like Destiny's Child, that's who we think of. I didn't even know these other people were in Destiny's Child, but I was also like so young when Destiny's Child was around that I wouldn't have known. In 2001, the group released their album Survivor, which featured songs Survivor, Bootylicious, and Emotion, which again, some of their most popular songs. In 2002, the group announced that they would be taking a break. But we did see them return in 2004 with Destiny Fulfilled. They went on a Destiny Fulfilled world tour, which we will see that Beyonce loves world tours. In 2005, the group called it quits for good. Basically, they weren't like quitting. They were just retiring. They were just going their separate ways. And all of the girls in the group, they all went on their own solo careers.
Did you know that over 40% of Americans have a hard time swallowing pills? So when it's time to take your vitamins, large capsules and pills are out of the question. We know that gummy vitamins exist, but they're full of sugar, they get stuck in your teeth, and they only contain a fraction of the nutrients you need. Luckily, Easy Melts has discovered the ultimate vitamin sweet spot. Vitamins that melt in your mouth, taste like a treat, and are packed with nutrients ready for absorption, all without an ounce of sugar. For a limited time, Easy Melts is giving listeners a free 3-month supply of vitamin D3 with their first purchase. To claim your free D3 vitamins, visit try.easymelts.com/spring24. That's melts.com/spring24. Say goodbye to the old way of taking your vitamins and say hello to the easy way.
We do see them get back together every now and then, but officially, like, they're no longer together. Sometimes they'll just, like, come together and sing something or perform, and then that's it. Like, it's not a permanent thing. But at this time, actually, since, like, 2001, Beyonce was going solo, right? So, even though the group took a hiatus in 2001, Beyonce was just kind of getting her solo career started. And she was actually the last of the three to kind of start her solo career. The other two had long gone, been doing their solo thing because they wanted to be famous. They wanted to keep singing. She appeared in Austin Powers and Goldmember in July of 2002. And in October, she released her debut solo recording of 2003 Bonnie and Clyde alongside her future husband, Jay-Z. And in that video, she, like, in the music video for that song, she plays Jay-Z's girlfriend, which kind of sparked speculation that maybe they were dating. Come to find out they were dating. So in 2003, she released her first solo album, Dangerously in Love. This album featured Crazy in Love with Jay-Z, and that became Beyonce's first #1 single as a solo artist. And she won 5 Grammys for that album, which was her first solo album. Beyonce's second album, B-Day, was released in September of 2006. The release of the album was to line up with her 25th birthday. Yet again, the album's lead single, Deja Vu, featured Jay-Z. And actually, while I was going through this, she had a lot of, like, #1 singles that featured somebody else. And I was like, can she release a #1 single by herself? Obviously, later on, she does. But at first, I was like, Jay-Z seems to be in all of these. And at this point, like, Jay-Z is a very well-known rapper. So is that why, like, she's having him on her songs? I don't know. It rubbed me weird, but also I just kept going. So B-Day included other popular songs such as Irreplaceable, Ring the Alarm, and Green Light. She received many Grammy nominations for this album, but she only received 1 award. And during the same time, she was in the films The Pink Panther and Dreamgirls. So again, busy lady. She just never takes a break. In 2007, she embarked on the Beyonce Experience, which was a worldwide tour. And she loves worldwide tours. This was her second world tour, but her first, like, solo tour, because she did that tour with Destiny's Child. And during this time, she re-released B-Day with 5 bonus songs, Beautiful Liar being one of them, which was her duet with Shakira. That got, like, a bunch of awards. On April 4th, 2008, Beyonce and Jay-Z got married. So all those rumors can be put to bed because they're married now. And they actually kept their relationship pretty private for the most part. And even their marriage, like their wedding, was very unpublicized. They've just been very quiet about their life. In November of 2008, she released I Am Sasha Fierce. This album introduced Beyonce's alter ego, which, if you listen to my CERN episode, you already know where I'm going with this in a little while. But if not, you're in for a real treat because we're going to get into the conspiracy theories about Sasha Fierce. The top songs on this album were Single Ladies, If I Were a Boy, and Halo. Halo's success actually helped Beyonce attain more top 10 singles than any other woman during the 2000s, which she just continued on being phenomenal. And then Single Ladies has been nominated or had been nominated for 12 awards worldwide, winning about half of them. I think she won 6 out of the 12. And some of them were Grammys and some of them were VMAs, like just different awards that she was nominated for. And in March of 2009, she took I Am on a world tour. Imagine that. So this is, if you're counting, her third world tour. During this time, she played Etta James in the film Cadillac Records, and at the inaugural ball for the Obamas, she sang one of James's songs. So that's kind of cool. She also sang at their second inaugural ball. So for both of them. And that year at the Grammys, she was nominated for 10 awards and won 6 of them. So although being nominated is still like a pretty big accomplishment. So good for her. In 2010, Beyonce announced that she would be taking a break from music, or just like a break in general. She just needed a break. Because up until this point, like, she's doing a million things. She is trying to maintain a relationship, right? And get married and all that, on top of world tour after world tour after world tour, album after album, like doing all these crazy things, film after film. So she took 9 months off. And during this hiatus, her and her father decided to part ways as business partners. And also during this time, she like kind of traveled the world. She saw actually a good amount of the world. And at some point, I'm not exactly sure, she did experience a miscarriage, which is one of the reasons she actually returned to music, was to cope with the loss of that baby. Which I'm not trying to, like, miscarriage is hard. I've had a miscarriage. It's not like an easy thing to go through. So, you know, that sucks. But at least she had music to return to and cope. In June of 2011, she released her 4th album, 4, which featured songs Run the World, Best Thing I Never Had, and Love on Top. And also, like, if her musical and visual talents just, like, weren't enough for you, she wrote a cover story for Essence, which detailed her travels she took while she was on break. And she won an award from the New York Association of Black Journalists for this story. So she's got awards after awards for all of her music videos and songs and albums and all these things. And then they're like, oh, well, you're a phenomenal writer too, so here's an award for that. Good for her. In August of 2011, Beyonce revealed that she was pregnant at the MTV Music Awards. And on January 7th, 2012, Beyonce gave birth to their daughter, Blue Ivy. In 2013, she performed at the Super Bowl halftime show and went on yet another world tour. So world tour number 4, and it was the Mrs. Carter Show World Tour. And during that time, she also released her 5th album, Beyonce. In 2014, she and Jay-Z announced their On the Run tour. And it was her first, like, co-headlining tour. And I was surprised, but it was not a world tour. It was just, like, a stadium tour. And she was nominated for 6 Grammys for Beyonce, but she only won 3 of them. In 2016, she released Formation and its music video, but it was only available on the platform Tidal, which I think might have been like a practice run to see how much they could get away with before releasing her entire Lemonade album on Tidal. Because she performed the song Formation at the Super Bowl halftime show that year and immediately announced the Formation World Tour number 5, after, like, right after the show, like the next day, she was like, yep, I'm going on a world tour. And then this same year, she released Lemonade, which was a film on HBO and also an album. And the album was exclusively available on Tidal, which, by the way, Jay-Z owns Tidal, which is probably why she released it only on his platform. For 3 years, it was exclusively on Tidal. Now it's available on Apple Music. But 3 years, if you didn't get Tidal, then you weren't listening to Lemonade. And honestly, to this day, I'm pretty sure I haven't heard that album or any of the songs that come off of it. But also around the same time, Which I'm like, okay, you guys are releasing all these things on this platform. You're doing really well as a couple, it seems from the outside, but there were allegations that Jay-Z was having an affair. And I don't think they were just allegations because she like alluded to it a lot in music videos, in song lyrics, at concerts. Like there's videos on YouTube that I watched for this episode of her like saying, I don't know, or something about like, I don't know why you wanted her when you have me, or something like that, right? And you're like, well, if that doesn't say that he had an affair, I don't know what does. And then I'm pretty sure I read something somewhere, but I couldn't find it again, so I didn't really want to include it, but I decided here I am. That they both said that it was really hard working through their marriage after his affair. But I couldn't find it again. So just take that as my word that I read it somewhere. You're welcome. In 2017, it was announced that Beyonce would headline Coachella. And this was like January 2017. They're like, yep, Beyonce's headlining Coachella. Well, then she announced the next month in February that she was pregnant with twins. And the doctors were too concerned about her health and the health of the babies that she had to pull out of Coachella, which actually declined Coachella's sales for that year by 12%. They were like, oh shit, like we got to do something. So they insisted that she headline in 2018, which she did. And it was like Coachella's biggest Coachella ever. I actually don't know if that's true. I just know it was a very, very large Coachella. I don't know which one's the biggest. The twins, Rummy and Sir, it could be Rumi. Rumi? Unsure of how to pronounce that name. They were born on June 13th of 2017. In 2018, the second joint tour with Jay-Z was announced, the On the Run 2 tour. And it was a world tour. So 6 world tours. On their last night in London, they revealed their joint album, Everything Is Love. And it was like, you know how on every album it says like what the album name is and then who made the album? Like it would say Lemonade by Beyonce. Well, this was Everything Is Love by the Carters. And in 2019, brought the documentary Homecoming, which was all about the 2018 Coachella event that Beyonce was a part of, and she co-directed. And of course, the film was accompanied by a live album because she can't release one thing without another. She was also featured as Nala in the live-action Lion King movie that year, which was good. I liked it a lot. In 2022, she released her 7th album, Renaissance. And with that, she is on her Renaissance World Tour right now. So 7 world tours, if you're counting. That's a lot of world tours. And actually, she's like kind of mad right now on her tour because I guess like the crowds in parts of Europe aren't giving her as much energy as she expects from her crowds. Which I just feel like is kind of like a diva thing. But I mean, they do call her Queen Bee and they call it a beehive, which I just feel like reminds me of Mean Girls. So I don't know. She has won 32 Grammys over her career, which is a lot of Grammys as well. And I mean, that's just Grammys. That does not include all the other. I think she has like 29 VMAs and she beat out Madonna. I think Madonna has like 20. Again, I didn't write this down. This is just coming from memory, but I did read it just a little while ago, so I have a pretty good memory. As well as 20 top 10 singles on the Billboard Hot 100 charts, joining Paul McCartney and Michael Jackson. So, like, if you're counting, Beyonce has become a living legend. Like, she, from some nobody in Texas, has become a huge name in music. Everybody knows Beyonce. It's like you don't even need like her whole name anymore. Like Madonna, you know, you don't even need the whole name. It's just Beyonce. But with all that fame and fortune comes a lot of conspiracy theories. A lot of conspiracy theories. So I'm going to cover as many as I could find. And actually, while I'm recording this, like literally I'm talking to you guys right now, I thought of another one that I had seen somewhere and I want to bring it and put it in this episode. So I will, after I share all these conspiracy theories that I already have written down, I'll see if I can find that last one and include it. Cuz it's kind of out there, but I mean, I don't know. There could be something about it, you know? So, firstly, the first theory is that she faked her pregnancy with Blue Ivy. So, after the miscarriage, she hired a surrogate to carry a baby for her. And this could have been because she was scared of having a baby or she was having fertility issues. It could be a number of things. I don't know. And she just committed to wearing a fake baby bump while she was in public. So this theory was fueled by a video of her sitting down for an interview, and it looked like her bump like folded and deflated a bit, which like she says, "Oh, it's just the fabric of the dress." But the bump completely disappeared under the dress and then like re-inflated and she was pregnant again. So I watched the video a couple times. I was like, I don't know, maybe it was a fake bump. But it seems like a lot of work to put into it. Like I don't think surrogacy is really that taboo. But what do I know? I mean, I'm not that famous. People don't really know me. So maybe I just don't know what it's like. Next, we have that she's lying about her age. Which again, she's going to deny all these rumors. Doesn't everybody denies all the rumors? But obviously, with such a high profile person, NDAs would be in effect with all the people that knew her actual age. But people slip up sometimes, to include her father, who compared her to Pink and Usher, saying that they were all born in the same year. But according to everything you find online, she was born 2 years later. So Pink was born in 1979. And if you remember way back to the beginning of this episode, Beyonce was born in 1981. So that's 2 years later, like I said. So I don't know. Maybe he just got it all confused. Maybe he didn't know Pink and Usher's like actual ages, even though they are very close in age and Beyonce would be 2 years younger than them. But something else is that Gabriella Union who is supposedly 9 years older than Beyonce, said that they were teenagers at the same time. That they were like friends in high school or like as teenagers. So like if this, which could technically be true, right? So Beyonce could have been a teenager if the age that she has given is true. She would have been 10 when Union was 19. But what kind of 19-year-old hangs out with a 10-year-old? Like, you're not friends with a 10-year-old when you're 19. You're not doing that. But that one still throws me off. Because if she is only lying about her age by 2 years, which, like, what's 2 years, right? But if she is lying about her age by 2 years, that means that when Union was 19, Beyonce would still only be 12. So, like, still, what kind of 19-year-old's hanging out with a 12-year-old? Unless she's lying about her age by more than 2 years. But also, her mom slipped up in a Facebook or social media post saying, like, happy 39th birthday. And then she later changed it to be 38th birthday. But again, that's only 1 year. So, like, who knows exactly how old Beyonce is? I think that they're just, like, messing up ages left and right because they can't even remember how old they said that she was. So, I reported in my CERN episode, but obviously we'll cover it here as well, that some people believe that Beyonce sold her soul to the devil. And this is for real. Basically, Sasha Fierce is believed to be a demon that possesses Beyonce and is the reason that she is so famous. Now, this isn't the first time musicians, she's not the first musician to be accused of selling her soul to the devil. If you remember way, way, way back when I did the 27 Club episode, I talked about blues musician Robbie Johnson, who may be the first like one of the first musicians to have sold his soul to the devil. He died at 27, which is why he's in the 27 Club. He was actually the first member of the 27 Club, but it's said that he sold his soul to the devil to be a famous musician because he sucked at being a musician, and then he came back a year later and he was like phenomenal. Well, I'm not saying that Beyonce sucked at the beginning. I don't really think that that was true. I'm sure she was always good, but it is believed that she sold her soul to the devil in some ritual or something, and she now that's who Sasha Fierce is. Although I did read some article that said that basically every artist that has an alter ego sold their soul to the devil. So like Eminem, for example, Marshall Mathers, he's got Slim Shady. They're like, yep, he sold his soul. So I don't know. I mean, maybe there's something to it. I didn't look that much into it. I was focused on Beyonce. Is she in the Illuminati? Because this seems to be like the biggest conspiracy theory about Beyonce. So if you don't know, the Illuminati is a group of elites that run the world. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. They're out there doing crazy things, doing whatever they want to do because they're the Illuminati. So some people say that they are the same as the New World Order or that they run the New World Order. Some people say they're two different elitist groups. Either way, they run the behind the scenes of everything. And everybody that is somebody is in the Illuminati. It's actually said that a lot of celebrities are in the Illuminati. And if, again, I keep referencing my old episodes in this episode. I didn't mean to do that, but I did the Justin Bieber, Selena Gomez baby episode, and he mentioned like a blood sacrifice, and that would be like an Illuminati ritual that would have happened. So there are full-on websites about her and Jay-Z being in the Illuminati, like full-on, like is Beyonce in the Illuminati.com. Like, I'm pretty sure let me double check my sources here. Oh, I didn't. I'll have to go find it. I was going to put that in my show notes for you guys as one of my sources. I didn't read the whole thing, but I thought it was a funny website that you could go check out. She is often, like very, very frequently throwing up Illuminati gang symbols in her music videos. I didn't know what else to call them because they're like hand signals that are the Illuminati. So oftentimes the Illuminati is associated with a triangle. If you look at a dollar bill, you have the all-seeing eye and a triangle. That's supposedly a sign of the Illuminati. I'm going to do an entire Illuminati episode. I have not yet, and I will because they're interesting. But apparently, like that's one of the signs for the Illuminati. And she is often throwing up, and her and Jay-Z both are throwing up triangles all the time, hand signs in their videos, on tour, in just pictures. Also, a triangle represents Jay-Z's record label, which if he sold his soul to the devil, no wonder, or if both of them did, or if they're in the Illuminati, which could be one and the same. I have no idea. But if they're in the Illuminati, then they would want to represent the Illuminati in discreet ways, however they could. She also like has been photographed making like the OK symbol and putting it like basically around her eye. So this symbol is where the pointer finger and the thumb make a circle, and the other three fingers are kind of like splayed out. And then that circle, that's with the pointer finger and the thumb, your eye would be like looking through that circle. And there are a lot of elites that have been photographed doing that exact same pose, that exact same symbol, which I've seen it in more than one video that they're pointing out, like, why are they all doing this? Or people are covering like their left eye. Again, I'm going to do a whole episode about the Illuminati. But I'm just saying that something is fishy about these weird symbols that they're all doing. Why are they all doing it? It's like a secret handshake that we don't know about. Blue Ivy's name is said to stand for Born Living Under Evil, Illuminati's very youngest, because people just assume that if both Beyonce and Jay-Z are in the Illuminati, then their children will just be, it's like grandfathered in, like old fraternities, right? So you get just like you get to be in the fraternity if your parents were. Basically, the Illuminati is the same thing. It is said that Aaliyah, was supposed to be the queen of the music industry, but she wanted to leave the Illuminati. Like, she didn't want the Illuminati to help her in that venture, so they killed her in a blood sacrifice, which is typical Illuminati fashion. And Beyonce, because this was all in 2001, so Beyonce was just like up and coming, so she just like ended up taking her place. She just ended up like being in the right place at the right time. They're like, cool, you're pretty, you're a good singer, it's you. You're now the queen of the music industry, which might be why people call her Queen Bee. Queen Bey? I don't know if it's Queen Bee or Queen Bey. I always said Queen Bee because, like, beehive, that everyone says, like, the beehive. Anyway. There are, or were, accusations from an ex-drummer that Beyonce was practicing witchcraft. But if you know anything about the Illuminati, then you know they have strange rituals, which I've talked about several times. But also the witch idea could lend to the Sasha Fierce theory as well. But everyone just like keeps shutting down this drummer. They're like, this is crazy. Beyonce's not a witch. Like, what kind of witchcraft? Like, what kind of weird thing are you saying? So people obviously are going to believe Beyonce over some nobody drummer that just happened to be Beyonce's drummer for a while. Although those are the people you typically want to believe. And she references the Illuminati in her songs, specifically Formation. She referenced the Illuminati in her song Formation. I included the link to the lyrics in the show notes. I believe, from my interpretation of the lyrics, that maybe she's referencing the fact that everyone thinks that she's in the Illuminati and like making fun of that. I don't know exactly, but that's just my interpretation of it. I don't think she's like volunteering information that she is in the Illuminati, but she's also like not denying it. So you think that like she would be out there being like, no, but also maybe free publication. So I don't know. It goes so many different directions here that is she in the Illuminati? Is she not in the Illuminati? I don't know. Okay, and then I'm a little disappointed in myself because I could not find the theory that I thought of while I was recording this. But I'll tell you about it so you can kind of look for it or be on the lookout for it or look around for it. And maybe you can find it. I'm hoping that one of you can find it. But I recently stumbled across a video. I think the video was on Instagram. But again, I couldn't find it again, so I don't know where I saw it. That every time Beyonce starts a world tour, and let me tell you, remind you, it was 7 world tours that she's been on, a very famous person dies. So right now, she just started her Renaissance World Tour, and Tina Turner died. So, and there's like a whole list of like which tour she started, and then like the start date, and then the death date of the person, which was it within months of the start of a Beyonce World Tour, which seems like super sketchy to me. If it's true. I mean, and again, I saw the dates of people, like famous people that we know, like Tina Turner. She's famous. Everyone knows her. She died just after the world tour launched. So, and it was a theory that every time she started a world tour, somebody famous would die. Is it because of her demon? Her Sasha Fierce demon? Is it because she's in the Illuminati and they sacrifice somebody every time she decides to be famous, like to be really famous and go on these world tours and make all this money? I don't know. I don't really have like the thought here. I mean, I'm just sharing this from memory. I don't have it all in my brain. But that's for sure something, if you're interested in the Beyonce conspiracy theories, to continue to look into, because I would be interested to see if this is like just a fluke or if this is a pattern. In the video picture thing I saw, it seemed to be quite the pattern. But again, I couldn't re-find it, so I can't give you the exact dates and the exact people and all the things. But I don't know. Seems pretty sketchy to me. So, what do you guys think? Do you think Beyonce is in the Illuminati? or she just happens to be really famous. I don't know. There's so many thoughts in my head. But as always, until next time, my friends, stay skeptical, and I'll see you all next week. Hey friends, The Rabbit Hole is an independent podcast with everything you hear done by me, Danny Mercy. I appreciate all of your support. Please rate and review wherever you're listening. If you want to follow us on Instagram, it's at rabbit.holepodcast. And thank you, Zakar Balaha, for our awesome intro.